We're live.
This meeting is now in session. Thank you, fellow staff members, for joining me. Last week we talked about...
You're welcome.
Thank you. Last week we talked about closing down the schools again. We talked about CRT implementing that in our schools, and we finally decided on a placement for our George Floyd Jesus statue. So things are looking up. And now...
So exciting.
Very exciting. And now we have the great privilege of opening a couple more schools in our district.
Yes.
And I hope you guys came with ideas on what you would like those schools to be called. Let's start with Amala, please tell me.
Yeah, we had a lot of parents writing in saying, what about Thomas Jefferson Middle School or John Adams Middle School? Doesn't sound too great. I'm thinking...
Name that racist, am I right?
Name that racist, right? Oh, slave owners, disgusting. I'm thinking we go more relevant, more cultural, Black cultural specifically. I'm thinking Meg the Stallion Middle School.
Okay.
How's that?
Why?
I think she's just a great role model, specifically for people of color. And I think we need to highlight people of color in whatever school name we come up with. So Meg the Stallion Middle School is great. Also, you have the Meg in middle. Sounds pretty good there. A little bit of alliteration.
She's a great emblem of sort of the sexual liberation, but I think we should take more of a body positivity angle on top of that. So I'm thinking more like Luscious Lizzo Elementary or something along those lines. I think the students would really just receive that well. And then we're sending all the messages that we want to send.
Right.
Honestly.
And then we can cancel gym class for the Lizzo school. And we can teach all of the little girls to be on their thought stuff.
Yes.
At the Megan Thee Stallion school.
I like it.
Plus,
Why
that
not?
leaves more time for critical race theory lessons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just do both.
That sounds wonderful.
Great.
Oh, wait.
Oh my gosh. We're
Hello?
fantastic.
Ma'am.
He always gets calls during the
I
meetings,
always
guys.
get
It's so annoying.
Hello? Yes. Okay. Well, bad news.
What,
Or
sir?
good news. Good news is that the bad news is coming.
Okay. What's the bad news?
The bad news is we lost our jobs.
What do you mean?
We're being recalled.
I
Call
don't
me
get
Gavin Newsom.
I don't get what we've done wrong.
I don't either. We've just tried
I
to
don't
help
recall
our
making any mistakes.
We've helped our community, and I'm going back to my George Floyd bunker.
We've run the school board perfectly.
Oh, very
How did the
acceptable.
union not protect us from this?
And seen a particularly long opening
Yeah, sorry,
to
guys.
Will and Amala Live today.
Yes.
We made Amala cry, so it was
I
really
hope
good.
you guys
Really
enjoyed
grabbing
it.
at straws.
It gets harder and harder to come up with skits to open this show. I just got to let you know it is not easy. What we do is not easy, ladies and gentlemen.
Not everyone could do it.
Pretending to be San Francisco school board members is very difficult.
It's demanding. It's tiresome.
Yes.
It's quite the task.
It is. It is. But
Arduous.
thank you all for joining us. And we're going to get into some stories here today. We've got a new sort of bulletin put out by the Department of Homeland Security labeling us as a certain word that starts with the letter T. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is yet, but we'll get there. Plus we have...
A treasure.
Yes, we're a national treasure.
Yes.
It's
Thank God they finally realized our talent.
I can promise you it is not national treasure, but we will get there. We also have the people who have been donors to the Canadian Freedom Convoy being doxxed and all of their information being put out onto the internet by hackers. Who are these hackers? We might have a video of someone confessing to the actual crime of doing this, but we'll see as things go through. We've got 3 school board members in San Francisco who have now been ousted from their jobs in a brilliant recall move after running their school board into the ground. We have Enes Kanter being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for what he's done in response to the CCP and the NBA. We have Wordle Xing out certain words that you can put into their game. That one's very interesting. Plus, are Black people overrepresented when compared to the population in commercials? We've got some crazy teacher TikToks, an update on Jordan Peterson. And for Wednesday's segment, our fun segment, we're going to be reacting to a Reddit thread called Am I the A-hole? Where people put in their stories and ask, am I the A-hole in this situation? And we will be the judges at the end of today's episode. Okay. So, Will, we're not national treasures.
Okay.
We're actually national terrorists.
Sounds right, about right.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, they put out what they call a terrorism threat to U.S. Homeland Advisory Bulletin. And I want to read a specific part in this. So you guys can go check this out on dhs.gov. But here's what they put under additional details. The primary terrorism-related threat to the United States continues to stem from lone offenders or small cells of individuals who are motivated by a range of foreign and or domestic grievances, often cultivated through the consumption of certain online content. Uh-oh. Are we that certain online content? The convergence of violent extremist ideologies, false or misleading narratives, and conspiracy theories have and will continue to contribute to the heightened threat of violence in the United States. They go on to stipulate that the proliferation of false or misleading narratives as it pertains to distrust in U.S. government institutions and things like election fraud or COVID-19 are inherently a terroristic threat to the United States, and that these online individuals should be brought to task.
They talk about political violence. Who's committing the political violence?
Where?
What examples can you give me of Nazis going out and committing political violence?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll point to January 6th, obviously. They'll point to the Charlottesville and thing and say, oh, there's political violence. Can you give me anything else? Can you give me anything that's really that legit? I mean, what
Where's
are you...
my hand?
What?
Well, the misinformation that you put out in regard to COVID-19 is grandma killing. That's pretty violent.
Apparently that's
violent.
domestic terrorism and a national security threat to be speaking the truth about what's going on with COVID. But they don't have any real examples. If you want the people who are committing terrorism in this country, Black Lives Matter and those people going and rioting through the streets, 20 people died within the riots during 2020 because of their actions and they weren't held accountable. Then you have Muslim extremists who are coming in, which no one seems to talk about anymore, Islamic extremists, which is still ravaging Europe and still has been here in America, but no one wants to talk about that. And now they're coming and saying, oh, white people and these types of people with these conspiracy theorists, these small isolated cells, these are the people who are causing political violence. What political violence?
Yeah, where?
Go to the trucker protests. Where is political violence? There isn't political violence.
Yep.
I mean, it's any of the rallies. I mean, I've spoken at so many rallies recently for COVID. I spoke at the state capitol of California. I spoke at the march in D.C. with 50,000 people. I mean, I'm speaking at all these things, and I haven't seen one act of violence at any of them. These are incredibly peaceful people who just want to get their lives back. But, if you want to get your life back, now you're a terrorist.
Right. I've seen Antifa show up to these events and cause violence.
Of course.
Nobody talks about that. And that being a terrorist organization either. And that's really the only times that we've seen anything that could be even remarked as violence, yet we are the ones who are terrorists. And I want you to think of really what the broader implication of this is. And the words that are truly disheartening to see here are the proliferation of false or misleading narratives. What was false and misleading 2 years ago, CNN is now using and putting out as fact. And where we would have been called conspiracy theorists 2 years ago and told that we need to be put in jail and that we're killing grandmothers and we're non-compassionate, is now being put out by ABC and MSNBC and ABC, and CNN as fact. So who gets to decide what's false and misleading? If we're running on this premise, then Joe Rogan's a national terrorist and he should be put in jail and brought to task for what he's been saying. We saw the hullabaloo that broke out after he had Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough on his show, and that was labeled as false and misleading information. And it's exactly what the DOJ did with parents who were going and calling out school boards for the infiltration of CRT into their students' curriculums. We saw the DOJ put out this long docket about how this is domestic terrorism and that they are threatening violence at our schools, and we should protect our school board members and our teachers by labeling these terrorists as such. Do you see a common theme here? Do you see where this is going to go? It's going to go as labeling people like you who watch this show or watch other shows, say Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, any of the other Daily Wire people, or anything that goes against what the confirmed narrative is on their part. You're going to be labeled as a terrorist.
Well, also, if you go into the additional details section right here and you see, for example, there's widespread online proliferation of false or misleading narratives regarding unsubstantiated widespread election fraud and COVID-19. If you watch MSNBC and you listen to what the left has been saying, I mean, they have called for people who are running as candidates in America for the 2022 midterms, and if they mention election fraud happened on November 3rd, 2020, then they say that they should be disbarred from being allowed to even run as a candidate. What sort of political process is that? You have no political process. You're saying, oh, you can only run if you believe these certain types of viewpoints.
Yep.
And people are legitimately calling for that. And again, you're talking about where this leads. You're exactly right, because even if in this document they're not talking about PragerU right now, okay, let's say I think they are. I think they're referencing things, people like us who are saying the truth.
Yep.
But let's say they aren't even doing that, and they're talking about real kind of far right types of people. Let's say that's true. When you give the government this type of power like this, regardless, like what's happening in Canada with their War Measures Act, which they call a different name, but when you give the government this type of power, then there is no saying how far it can go, because it can continue to go farther. I mean, that was one thing that was really important about when I was in Europe versus being here in America. America has the First Amendment. We have the Constitution where you were able to say these things that you want. Whereas hearing about cases that were happening in the Netherlands specifically, where I was, I mean, cases about people who are getting sued for things that they said that might be considered incitements of hate.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have that same liberty that you have in America that you have here.
Yep.
And the way that this is sounds like you are heading towards a dystopian future where people do not have the freedom to say what they want to say. They don't have the freedom to be able to run for office if they don't want to. If you disagree with the narrative, then you're out.
Yeah, those people who are far right or even far left people who say things that we go, oh, that's extreme, they still have the right to say those things. As long as they're not actively committing an act of violence against somebody or threatening somebody, it's like you still have the right to say and do those things. And we are fighting for that right. And to have something like this come out of our Department of Homeland Security should be very, very concerning, because it's sowing the seeds for what's going to come out of this. And it's not just happening in those larger departments in America. It's happening all over the world. And there are so many different instances where you can say, we are being ostracized from society for the things that we believe, even though maybe it hasn't not quite come to us yet. It will. Here's a Jordan Peterson update that he tweeted out today. Apparently, I'm being investigated by the Ontario College of Psychologists yet again, even though I haven't practiced for 5 years. The weaponization of professional colleges will be the demise of competent professionalism. So here's yet another example where somebody having opinions that deviate from the accepted narrative can cause trouble for them professionally. He's now being investigated by the Ontario College of Psychologists. They have the power to go, you know what? You shouldn't be licensed. You no longer have credibility in the field that you studied for years and practiced for years and taught for years. You no longer have any credibility there. We've seen this happen with doctors like Ken Zucker, who we've covered on the show, who was studying gender theory, and he deviated from the narrative of sex reassignment surgery and blind affirmation of transgenderism. And they said his community told him, you're no longer credible. And now he's not accepted as a doctor with any credibility in the field, even though he is one of the leading experts. This is going to continue to happen in every field.
I mean, that happened with COVID too. That happened with the COVID doctors who were coming out and saying that you were going to lose your medical credentials for saying anything about it. I remember back in, this was, I think, late 2020, maybe it was early 2021, but when there was all the HCQ stuff happening, the board of doctors in California sent out letters to doctors saying that if you prescribe this or talk to people about it, you would be in a position to lose your medical license.
Yep.
So all of these things that the government is wielding this type of authoritarian power as a way to scare people into submission. But with Jordan Peterson, I mean, what I would recommend that he does, and I think this is already what he's going to do, is that it doesn't really matter at a point, oh, they're going to disbar you or take away your medical license as a psychologist. You're going around the world speaking to hundreds of thousands of people. You're making a huge impact. Who cares what these losers think?
But it's going to matter. It's going to matter for other people who are not Jordan Peterson is the problem. Problem. I don't know that this organization or that this college, right. I don't know that this college has the power to take away his license, but think about that. Think about going to school and going to college and going there for psychology to get your degree in it and to get licensed for it. And then you say something that is considered wrong by them. And you say, well, I believe that there's men and women and that people who are experiencing gender dysphoria need a different form of treatment. And they go, you're not going to get your license anymore. So Jordan Peterson is a big fish to go after in this, but think about the little ones that are not going to be able to practice in the field because they deviate from a narrative, which means you will not get proper treatment. This will be the same thing for doctors. It'll be the same for teachers. It'll infiltrate every single facet of professionalism in our society, and you will only be treated and have services from people who agree with what is considered the narrative.
This DHS thing, I recommend that everyone really take a deeper dive and actually look at it. Do we have it linked in the description, Taylor?
Yes.
Because the things, especially when you go to the additional details and you read section 2 and all the different bullet points, the key factors contributing to the current heightened threat environment include, it talks about as COVID-19 restrictions continue to decrease, that gives a way that people can now meet to discuss violence, people who are against mask mandates and vaccine mandates. That they can now meet. It's talking about attacks at historically black colleges. It's talking about 5G in here. If you say anything about 5G, now you are one of these potential extremist terrorists. I mean, what a nutty document.
Insane.
No one should take anyone who works these people seriously because what they're doing is just asinine. I mean, they're so backwards. I urge everyone to read this. Please go through and read it after the show and give us your takes on it because it's truly a terrible thing.
So clearly targeting people on our side of the aisle. It's so obvious. And they don't care. And this will go under the radar too. I imagine most media outlets will not even report on this.
Yeah, the last part in this, it says a small number of threat actors are attempting to use the evacuation and resettlement of Afghan nationals following the U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan last year as a means to exacerbate long-standing grievances and justify attacks against immigrants.
So crazy.
Who are the people who are committing the extremist attacks? It's extremist Muslims. It's extremist Muslims, and not even just extremist Muslims. You go to Europe, it's just people who have come in from North Africa who are raping people and committing horrible sexual assault and terrible crimes. And those are the people who get no play in the media. No one's talking about that.
Silent victims.
And now, I have to, for some reason, feel bad because they're claiming that I'm saying horrible things about Afghan refugees. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
This
You're an
isn't
Islamophobe.
None of this is happening. None of it is happening. It's all a psyop to pit people against each other. It's terrible. And the fact that the government would use their power to do this, and also the fact that we pay taxes to the government, meaning that these people at the DHS are literally my employee. I own you. Okay, I don't own you, but you are my employee in the sense that I am paying your salary, and then you have the gall to come on and say these things about me.
Yep.
Useless people.
It's very clear.
Not everyone who works in government is bad. Not all of these people are bad. But if you're someone who works in government and you see this happening and you allow this to happen, you continue to work for them. I mean, you can't do that. You can't have a moral conscience and put this stuff out. Work for an organization that believes this. You just can't.
No, and one more wrinkle that bears mentioning because it happened just this week was the anti-gun activist. His name, I think, is Quintez Brown, who went into an office this week and shot at a mayoral candidate, I think, in Louisville. Right. And where's that being reported on by the media?
The Joy Reid supporter.
Yeah, he's been on Joy Reid's show. He's been published by some left-wing outlets. Some of his work on reporting on like anti-gun activism and stuff. And he's not a domestic terrorist. But if you oppose CRT and you go to a school board meeting, then you are, according to as far as the government is concerned. It's just insane.
This is so reminiscent of communism, real communism, where people who were enemies of the government were labeled as that essentially. You were labeled an enemy of the government. You were labeled a bad actor just because you wanted your freedom, just because you wanted to stand up for what the government was doing was wrong. What does this make? Right. What does this do to people? I mean, we talked about this a little bit with Glenn Beck, but what this does is push people who are on the right or people who just disagree with this into crazy people. You make people crazy. When you tell them that they're these horrible domestic terrorists, the next right-wing leader who's going to be they're going to be radical because of what they're doing, of how they are pushing people on the right, how to think and act. Yeah. You're pushing people into a corner. What happens when you push a cornered animal? It bites. And that's what they're doing with this kind of stuff. But that's what they want to do. That's the goal.
That's the goal. The pendulum's going to swing back way too hard. Way too hard. And then we're all going to be here sitting in the middle of it watching it happen. Yeah. So it's very, very unfortunate. Another story here in the fight for freedom that is continuing to happen in Canada with the Freedom Convoy. They have been doxxed. At least the donors to the Freedom Convoy have been doxxed. The GiveSendGo donors have been targeted by political hacking into the GiveSendGo network, and the names of the donors who contributed to the Canadian Freedom Convoy were made public in what is now being called a well-orchestrated, politically motivated doxing effort. Now, they're still trying to find out exactly who is responsible for this, but we do have a recent video that was put out by somebody streaming live on the internet saying that they are in fact the person who doxed the donors. Here's that very strange video. very weird breathing. I don't like it.
Nothing scares me. Nothing. Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked GiveSendGo, baby. And I do it again.
Sorry for the headphone users.
I do it 100 times. I did it. I did it. Come at me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me, huh?
This is making me so uncomfortable.
I hacked Epic Hosting. I hacked Parler. I hacked Gab. I hacked Truth Social. I hacked GiveSendGo.
Okay. I'm done watching that. But he goes on an extended tirade to confess to multiple crimes if this is true. I hacked Parler. I hacked Gab. I hacked Drew Social.
I killed John F. Kennedy.
Literally, like I'm waiting for how much more are we gonna get from? He's like, I'm untouchable. I'm not scared of anything.
I did Watergate.
I faked Trudeau's birth certificate.
That's just wild, but it shows you like. These are the people who disagree with the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Mm-hmm. These are the people
totally normal, sane, great people.
Right. Yeah.
He's fighting the terrorists.
Yeah.
He's not the terrorist.
He's the one fighting the terrorists. Yeah. This is the one who's fighting the Canadian Freedom Convoy terrorists who are lighting up their barbecue grills and their hot tubs and their pizza ovens and really, really spreading violence across Ottawa.
No, when you say keyboard warrior, I mean, it gives it a whole new meaning, seeing this guy. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah.
And he sits at home and does nothing with his life and then hacks something and doxes people. And now, does anyone see this guy as a hero? I'd be surprised to know.
I bet there are people that do.
I'm sure.
I bet there are.
It's quite surprising to me that there would be anyone who could see someone like this as a hero.
Someone said he's West Elm Caleb.
Yeah. I texted the 16 girls.
I'm the Tinder swindler.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm the hash slinging slasher.
If that's
the Scranton Strangler.
I'm the Scranton Strangler.
Oh gosh. Sorry, Will.
No, I understand. I get the reference.
No, I know. I just kind of interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
We got her.
Okay, keep going.
That was funny.
That was very funny.
No, it was a good joke. Listen, if just compared to people who were heroic in the past, the people who have been heralded as great people to do great deeds against all odds, against tyranny, to think that this guy could someday go down in the annals of history as one of those people is just, it's just crazy.
Yep. And there's a massive effort to write people like that in as heroes.
And by the way, this information is all over Twitter right now. The people who've been doxxed, that there's like multiple accounts posting this. Yeah. Twitter specifically has a policy that I'm pretty sure they made to combat James O'Keefe and used to justify banning him from their platform, which was you can't publish hack material. I mean, there's some other stuff with certain sons of other politicians that was not wanted to be leaked on Twitter. Yeah. But anyway, according to their own policy, anyone who uses hacked information and publishes it on their platform should be banned. But stuff like this and the information that this guy hacked is all over the place on there right now, and they're not doing anything about it.
I didn't see it. I missed it.
Right. And there was just a video that came out on Twitter. I just saw this. It had like 700,000 views. It was a video of a woman getting destroyed by an SUV, getting hit by an SUV and dying. It's a horrible, gory video. And it's like, that's allowed on the platform. But then people speaking out against COVID mandates and all this isn't allowed. The
Taliban's allowed on Twitter.
Right. No, it was crazy. I mean, you can go and say the N-word and do all this horrible stuff, whatever it is. But when it comes to speaking COVID information that's the truth, no, then you get banned. Or you're defying L's and you just are basically a mirror for what these people say. Yep. They don't even want you to see what they said before. Yeah. How crazy is that?
You can't post our own words or we'll ban you.
I know.
Just amazing. The clown world that we live in currently is just fantastic.
Yeah. No, but
yes, Phil?
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
He's like, no, I don't want to say it anymore. Let's get into a couple high points here. Let's get some wins in because we've been talking a lot of downers right now. Here's a New York Times article. In landslide, San Francisco forces out 3 Board of Education members. And what's really interesting is that, San Franciscans, I guess you can call them, were looking at what had happened in their Board of Education with their schools as it relates to COVID-19 and the mask mandates. Critical race theory, I'm sure, played a big role in this, and also a massive move against meritocracy. Instead, putting kids in school based on a lottery instead of taking into account their grades and academic standing. And what truly caused these 3 Board of Education members to be pushed out of the San Francisco board was a galvanized group of Asian Americans who said, our kids are performing well above academic standards. They are exceedingly great at getting good grades in these schools, yet you are focusing on a lottery system, and it's not fair to our children. So what did they do? They organized and they came out to vote, and now 3 board members will not be seeing their seats again.
It's great.
Yep.
That's what democracy looks like.
It is.
That's an amazing thing. That's the power of these things that people can do.
Yep.
I hear it all the time. People are like, what can I do? I'm just one person.
Yep.
You can get groups together. You can go and talk at these meetings. You can get coalitions, and you can make changes that you want to see.
Yeah, it's true. And they recalled all 3 of these people who I'm sure were just sitting pretty in their little ivory tower seats thinking everything was going to be fine and they could just push their agenda into the schools, which again is a critical race theory agenda. This idea that meritocracy somehow promotes whiteness or is an extension of white supremacy. And what it does is it ruins the lives of young Asian American kids who again are known culturally for performing well above academic standing. So why would you force a kid like that to have to be subjected to a lottery? Their grades should be taken into account. How well they're doing in school should be taken into account. And the parents realized that, and they showed up. So that's fantastic. Good piece of news.
Yeah, and this had to do with our opening skit as well, is that there was legitimate criticism. They spent all their time in these board meetings arguing over how to rename schools that were named after founding fathers and people like Thomas Jefferson. And so instead of talking about how to get the schools open, how to safely do that, or they're talking about renaming schools, instituting lockdowns, and
masking kids.
Yeah, and that's what they're spending their time doing. And kind of like Will was saying earlier, these parents are like backed into the corner. I'm like, I can't send my kid to school. I have to put a diaper on his face all day, and they're not even getting into the schools based on merit now. Yeah. So what am I going to do? They got up, they started mobilizing, they started organizing, they got other parents signed up, and they recalled. And I saw something interesting in this article that I think something to the tune of 85% of the same voting base voted to oppose the recall of Gavin Newsom, but they overwhelmingly voted to recall these people. And so
that's great.
Yeah, so they legitimately flipped win because they saw the absurdity of the school board. So good on them.
Yeah, there's a turnaround here. And it goes to show a lot of the things that we talk about on this show, the issues specifically, happen on sort of a national level or federal level, or sometimes on a world level when we're talking about the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset and all this crazy stuff and how it's interwoven. And you can feel sort of helpless and go, oh my gosh, there are so many big actors and big perpetrators pushing this on me and in my life. What can I do? And we so often forget the power of local governance and how much your voice truly matters when it comes to your day-to-day life. The Board of Education is your day-to-day life when it comes to you and your children and what they're being educated in and on. And this is where people stood up and made a change. And now there's going to be 3 new people sitting on this board, and hopefully it'll be 3 new people that support their values. Yep.
Right. Why are these people even having jobs in the first place?
It's unbelievable.
The fact that there are so many people who just have useless jobs is quite disappointing. The amount of administration, the amount of bureaucracy, it's just why do these people even have jobs in the first place?
Because it only ever expands, never disbands. It only ever goes up.
I know.
They only ever find more seats that they need and more power that they need and more resourcing that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And people just talk about critical race theory and black schools all day.
Yep.
For no reason.
Yep. Absolutely no
them.
reason.
Again, these are our employees. We pay them our tax dollars.
Yep.
Useless people.
Useless, I tells ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Double down.
Oh, double down. Okay, more good news here. Enes Kanter Freedom is being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Why? For being a strong, outstanding voice against China and the CCP, and particularly the NBA's involvement with China and the CCP. This is an article written by The Atlantic, which is quite surprising. detailing, different moments where the NBA was clearly in the pocket of China and the different grievances that one should have with China, considering their active use of slave labor, their tamping down of dissidents in their country, the genocide of the Uyghur Muslims. And it details how Enes Kanter became aware of everything that happened, his life, which is truly interesting, and his outcry against the CCP and the Chinese regime, and his decision to do that really as a lone actor within the NBA when they are constantly trying to dissuade people from calling attention to this. And one story that I thought was particularly interesting was about Enes Kanter's background and how he sort of realized how different America was from Turkey, where he was from. It says that he arrived in the U.S. in 2009 as a high school basketball recruit. He heard a teammate criticize Obama. He said, "Dude, what are you doing? They might put you in jail." The teammate laughed. "This is America," the first revelation of freedom of speech. And Kanter used it to criticize the repressive government of Turkish President Recep Tayyip. And he sort of... What was that?
Erdogan, yeah.
Yeah, so he decided, I have this freedom of speech here in America that can't be taken away from me, and it's something that I haven't had before, and I would have been stripped of my rights had I said any of this in Turkey. And he decided to use that for good. He ended up going to an event one time where a lady approached him and said, "How dare you be here representing the NBA and not talking about what's happening in China with the Uyghur Muslims." And he told that woman, "I'm going to get back to you on that and I will look into it." And when he did, he found out what was happening and decided to take a stand. You might know him for the shoes that he had painted before going on the court that called out China, that showed depictions of what was happening there, and asked people to truly take a stand on how they feel about the CCP and everything they're doing. And he did this all on his lonesome. So he's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, which is really great because a Nobel Peace Prize nomination went to Black Lives Matter. I believe they win? Yeah, they even won the Nobel Peace Prize. So is this a shift or are we just recognizing something that I think all of us can get behind in common ground? And that's China genociding Uyghur Muslims is probably not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for them to do that, but
it is.
when it comes to these awards and all this kind of stuff, I don't really trust any of it.
Yeah.
It all seems just like
psyop.
Useless.
It's strange that the Atlantic is publishing this, and it's strange that the Nobel Committee nominated him. It's like, I have the same skepticism as
like
you
a weird, tiptoeing.
Yeah, I know. But you read the Atlantic article. You guys, did we put that in the description?
Yeah.
If you guys read the Atlantic article, I mean, it's a lot of it is just nonsense. I mean, it talks all these things about right-wing people, Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, and things that they said. I mean, it's pretty. It's not a well done article in the sense of being fair, but it does have some fair points about the Golden State Warriors and LeBron James and people and hypocrisy. So there is some good in it, but as a whole, it's definitely not the best. And I think it misses the picture on a lot of things, that this is an authoritarian regime that is pushing these things, and that America has to take a stronger stance against all of this, And the Atlantic is tied to many of these people who are tied to the World Economic Forum, who do so many deals with China and all of this. So it's not like the Atlantic has much room to talk if they're trying to call it hypocrisy. So
none of these news outlets have any right to talk.
None at all. I mean, the MSNBC, NBCCP, I mean, they're covering the Beijing Olympics right now, and that's what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They don't care at all. I mean, we should be shouting the sponsors of the Beijing Olympics every single day from the rooftop to let these people know. And if you shouldn't be watching the Olympics, first of all. You shouldn't be watching the Olympics at all. If you want these people to pay for what they're doing, it's a total, complete disaster. Turn off your TV. Don't watch the Olympics whatsoever.
Agreed.
But yeah, in terms of this, I wish that the article and wish this did more, and I wish that these types of awards weren't worried for me. I mean, we were talking the other day about movies and stuff. They're like, even when a good movie comes out, it's hard to even get excited for it because everything else is so bad.
Yeah.
So when something like this happens, it's hard for me to get excited about it because I've just been so disillusioned with these types of awards and these kind of things at all. It makes me think that there's something deeper going on here.
There's an agenda.
I'm a very skeptical person now of all of these kinds of things.
It's hard to not be cynical about literally everything.
Right.
Yeah, like Will said, you will find sort of obviously left-wing undertones in this article. Not even undertones; they're pretty overt about it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I'm trying to think of what the motivation here could be for even giving him the Nobel Peace Prize in this case. Maybe to sort of quell the idea that the U.S. has ties to China, or it has a deep love and is inspired by China, as the one Justin Trudeau would say.
Well, I think it's easy to write an article. It's very easy for you to write an article and say, oh, China's kind of bad sometimes, and get some praise for it and be able to stave people off of your back for saying something. It's like a Republican congressman coming out and saying, abortion is terrible, and then doing nothing to defund Planned Parenthood or get abortion outlawed in this country, right? So it's very easy to say things. It's hard to do something. I understand that The Atlantic isn't a political lobbying organization or something like that, but still, there are things that people can do, and then there are things that people can say. People say a lot of things, right? It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to show up to a rally or an event or whatever and actually, try and enact change, or be a Canadian trucker and go out there and do it. So there's a big difference there. I think that's kind of just again, I'm a skeptical person now with all these kind of things, and maybe I'm looking too far into it, and I could be wrong. I won't admit that I'm thinking I'm so right on this, but there could be. It's just for show.
Could be nefarious.
Yes.
But all that to say, Enes definitely deserves props.
He does.
Oh, I mean, if the Nobel Peace Prize was a fair thing and we were all on board with it, I'd be like, yes, he deserves it more than many other people. And I would give it to the Convoy, the Canadian Convoy, or or any of these people. Like, there's a lot of people who are heroes who are doing this. But it's just, again, it's hard to take seriously. If they give it to Black Lives Matter after they rioted and destroyed mostly fiery, peaceful protests, it's just... What can this really mean?
Yep.
It's hard to know.
What's the significance? Yeah.
But he deserves it if it was real.
Right.
Nonetheless, of course.
There we go, guys. Now, before we move on to our final segment, Am I the A-hole? We're going to react to a couple TikToks here from beloved teachers. Here we go. Here's number one.
The goal of the transition closet is for our students to be able to wear the clothes that their parents approve of, come to school, and then swap out into the clothes that fit who they truly are. And I use the idea that this is like Superman changing in a phone booth. But that idea actually goes a lot further than that, because Superman isn't Clark Kent. Clark Kent is actually the disguise. And when Clark Kent goes into the phone booth, he transforms into Superman, who's really just who he truly is, Kal-El. And so this gives our trans students the opportunity to be the superheroes that we know they are.
What? What did he say?
Okay, so this teacher has what's called a transition closet in his classroom, which means that students who maybe are not accepted at home or are not ready to come out to their parents at home can come to school in their normal clothing. And then he has clothes that represent, different dresses and male clothes and everything like that. So they can come to school and in his classroom change into the outfit they truly want to be in and go to school that day.
If your metaphors that you're making for this kind of stuff is superheroes and Marvel, I mean, that already shows a level of disillusion.
Yeah. It's hard to watch this and not view this as grooming children. It's very clear, and it's obviously not sexual grooming, but it is grooming them into an identity that you as a teacher do not feel necessary to share with parents, and that is extremely concerning. Out of what is the average classroom size in an elementary school, middle school, high school? It's probably 25 to 30 kids. Statistically, how likely is it that one of those kids is transgender in that classroom? Very, very, like very zero. Low. Yeah, zero. Yeah. Far, far less than 1%. So to have this transition closet present and go, hey, 30 kids who statistically will not be trans, here's this transition closet if you want to come to school in boy and girls clothes and then change to boy or girls clothes, and don't let your parents know. What you're doing is planting a seed of an idea in these children's brains and making it seem like this fun, fantastic thing. Oh, in this guy's classroom, I get to go in the transition closet. Don't you want to do it? You haven't done it yet? Oh my gosh, go and do that. It is quite literally grooming kids into a new identity and then hiding it from parents, which is devastating.
I mean, every kid. You're a kid. And your teacher says, hey, you can come in here and change your clothes. Yep. I mean, all 30 of them are going to be lined up to just change their clothes into whatever, because it's fun to dress up and do all this stuff.
And then he's got his pride flag behind him, and he teaches them what all the different colors mean. And go, well, Jimmy picked out a girl's dress. Why'd you pick that out, Jimmy? What does that mean to you? Do you feel more comfortable in that dress, Jimmy? Don't tell mom and dad you feel more comfortable in that dress. Come to me first. And when you want to change your name, come to me first, Jimmy.
Yeah, look at the genderbread person poster and let's talk about where you identify and all this. And stuff like this is why we saw Newsweek publish just a couple of weeks ago that survey where now it's like between 30-40% of young people in America identify as somewhere on this LGBTQIA ++2S spectrum. And it's because they're being groomed in class. Like you said, like who knows the actual occurrence of gender dysphoria just on its own as a mental condition or whatever it may be, but it's this confusion being pushed by these teachers like this is what is causing this mass confusion.
Yeah.
It's ballooned in recent years.
Yeah.
And the outcomes are not good.
The outcomes are not good. And we reacted to a video, I think probably months ago on this show now, where a mother came to a school board in utter tears that she had not been told that her kid was experiencing gender dysphoria and her kid was suicidal, had suicidal ideation, that she expressed to a teacher. And the teacher said, here, pick your new pronouns, pick your new identity. We're not going to tell mom about this. And now she has a suicidal child that she does not know about. She has no idea that this is happening until she gets a wake-up call one day and finds out that this is what her child has been expressing the entire year. It's ridiculous to have teachers like this who are willing to hide such a massive part, a massive concerning part of kids' lives. This would be the same thing as finding out a student in your class has a medical condition and not making that known to the parents. That's the exact same thing.
You know, have you seen the meme of the guy, like the leftist guys, and they're like, they have the video game of the new Marvel thing or whatever, or Star Wars, and they're like, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
No, what is
like the leftist guy?
No, but
and
keep
he's
going.
Like, no, the leftist. You guys
Keep
know.
explaining.
You watchers, you guys understand where it's the.
I'll check the chat, see if anyone knows what you're
They
talking
know what
about.
I'm talking. The leftist guy, and he's like with some new weird nerdy thing, and he's like,
Oh, he's just like revealing it? Like,
but he has that face. He has
don't
that
know.
face where it's like,
Like our
it's
thumbnails?
like the beta face. You know, it's like
Sure.
that's what this guy looks like. Also, when we were at UCLA yesterday, there was a tour group for kids who might come to UCLA, and we overheard them talking, and they were asking, "Hey, everyone introduce yourselves, your name, where you're from, and your pronouns."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just nutty. Does the chat know what I'm talking about?
Someone said
people
that
did.
meme is awesome. So you have at
Hashtag
least
beta
one.
face, hashtag soy jack.
Yeah, like that, yeah, like the soy, the soy jack.
But yeah, it's super unfortunate. And yeah, the efforts to go, everybody say their name and pronouns before we get into our discussion. It's an effort to normalize. Final stage of ideological subversion is to normalize everything that's happening right now. It's not normal. It's not normal.
No, it's not normal. None of this is normal.
I'm not going to say
You live in
it
a
is.
sick society.
One more here that we'll react to really quickly before getting into our Reddit thread submissions. Here's one more teacher talking about how she's not subservient to parents.
So I see how you think that you've done something here because parents or community members have voiced concern to their elected official, which is how that process works. Not bringing it to a teacher, right? They're taking it to the elected official. And now that legislators are trying to implement these things. But still, in fact, a parent, not my boss. I don't actually answer to them, so get bent.
Get bent. Who do you answer to?
If your boss is an elected official and the elected official's boss is parents, your boss is parents.
Right. Again,
It's very
you
clear.
pay your taxes. You are my employee, teacher.
She just laid it out. She just laid out how parents are her boss and then denied the fact that parents are her boss.
Also, have you ever met people? You've met teachers. If you have a third grade education, you can be a second grade teacher.
Dude, there are kids that I went to school with, right? In high school, they went to college and everything, and they're teachers now, and they're teaching like middle school. I'm like, how is this girl or boy a teacher? I cannot, like, I know you.
I know.
How are you responsible for teaching children? And then I look at their social media posts, which obviously their students are not on their social media, but they still post, you know, like normal girls who are 22 would post. I'm like, how are you responsible for teaching the next generation?
I know. My sister, she's a teacher, and I knew all her teacher friends who were also teachers who had gone to school with her and everything. And I'm like,
What?
No.
Like, what?
I'm like, you're a teacher? Like, you are getting, like, I don't know what you're going to say.
you guys-
But, like, it's crazy that these people are, you know, I've said this before, there's a great Norm Macdonald sketch about teachers not being the real heroes. It's fantastic. I urge you all to look it up. It's hilarious.
But teachers used to be, man. Like when I was a kid, you had all these older teachers who had like just dedicated their life to education. Now look how young teachers are.
Yeah.
Like across the board. Even in high school, you're seeing people who are like 23, 24 teaching high schoolers. What is going on? What is going on? My high school teachers were in their 60s, some of them in their 70s, their 50s. But now we have this new generation of just 20-year-olds teaching every single grade. I don't understand it. It used to be if you were 22 and you wanted to enter education, you were teaching like preschoolers and kindergartners.
Right.
And that's acceptable because you teach them their ABCs and 2 + 2. But now you have 22-year-olds teaching 17-year-olds.
I know. I think my youngest teacher was my second grade teacher,
Yeah,
Miss Griffin.
that's wild.
I had a massive crush on her.
See, and that's acceptable.
I did.
That's what happens.
No, I got this little like fake gold chain
Wow.
that I got like from one of those machine
You're like,
things.
she's
you know?
gonna think I'm
Yeah,
older.
I wore it. I wore it with like my basketball jersey, and I was, went up to her to talk to her about
Do the
like,
face. Do the face.
It's like, Miss Griffin, Miss Griffin.
Oh, no.
But like I thought I had a chance with my teacher
Right,
in
right.
second grade. I had
Right.
a huge crush on her.
Of course.
Anyway, that was the youngest teacher that I ever had. So see where that leads.
Yep.
Horrible.
Slippery slope.
It's a
Will.
slippery slope.
Oh no, that's actually something that I was talking about. I'm not gonna go too in depth on the show, but having young girls like that, like young 22-year-old girls teaching high school, not okay,
No,
not
of
acceptable.
course, not good.
You're having a 5-year difference between 22 and 17 and 18, and you think that they should be teaching children? Absolutely not.
Yeah, because you
absolutely
like
not.
blacked out your way through college, and you
Yeah.
think that you get to come and teach children.
Literally. I know somebody who would post every single day just her drinking in college. She graduated and is a teacher in, I think, middle school. I'm like, what are you are you serious?
No, well, college
Are you
education is useless. I mean, it's completely, for the most part. I mean, it's
Gosh.
useless. You don't learn anything.
She like posts like outfit of the day as a teacher, like on her Instagram and stuff. I'm like, oh my God.
Teaching is a skill. I think teaching is
my
a skill. It's a very admirable skill to be a skilled teacher, because to be able to convey information to people in a way that makes them learn and makes them feel actually inspired by what you're saying is a big deal, and it's a hard skill to learn. But it doesn't come from the university like that. It comes from practice. It comes from actually doing it. It comes from real life skills. I mean, back in the day, you could go and just be a teacher. You could go and be a teacher. You could even go and be a doctor. Like if you served in a war and you were a medic in a war, you could then just go and be a doctor.
Yeah.
Or a lawyer. You could learn law and then just go be a lawyer.
Right.
And now you have all these different things, and you got to go to
Regulations.
college, and everyone just drinks their way through college, and it's like, and now you just have this generation of people who can't even form sentences.
Yep.
And who are supposedly adults and leaders in the society. It's crazy. This
Yep.
is the next generation. It's insane.
It's like
It is
reputation
crazy.
used to be more important than credential, and now it's like you get a credential and you just can do whatever you
Yep.
want.
You can do whatever you want.
Right.
You can do
It's
whatever
like
you want.
doctors get C's through medical school, and they become doctors, and they like what do they know? It's crazy. It's
It is crazy.
I have to say here, my wife was a early 20s high school English teacher.
Sorry,
So
Ansley.
she was that one, but she was a great teacher
Sorry.
and
Yeah,
quit because
okay.
of all of the BS. But she
What
has
do
a
you
lot of
have to say
friends who
about
are
that,
still in
Amala?
it, and they're like,
I
it's
will
gotten
say
so bad.
Your wife is the exception to the rule because I've
is.
met your wife,
Yeah,
and
she's great.
she is not. She is definitely the exception to the rule. She is the 1%er of the 99% of 20-somethings teaching high school. 100%.
Boom, liberal.
But this-
100%.
Got 'em.
I wonder though, it's like, the same way we talk about because of like, oh, if you demonize cops, then, all the good ones are not going to want to stay cops. It's like if you make teaching all about imposing and teaching about the genderbread man and doing all this stuff, and hey, teaching CRT and putting this stuff in curriculum, good teachers are not going to stick around
Yep.
and be forced to do that. Much less there's already problems with all the bureaucratic things that my wife left over years ago. Now it's got her friends who she taught with are like, it's so much worse now, and a lot of them have left too. So
Yep.
Right.
it's a broken system.
My mom just texted me that she complained, I didn't know this until right now, that when I was in second grade with Miss Griffin, my mom complained to the school because Miss Griffin's thong was showing. and now I'm like, Mom, why would you do that?
Oh my
You know?
gosh.
Oh,
This
Miss
explains so
Griffin.
much.
She
We'll have
explains
some Miss
so
Griffin
much.
updates. We're
Yeah.
gonna have her on the show.
I know. Miss Griffin, come on the show.
Next
Miss
week.
Griffin, if you're watching, I don't know your first name. If you're watching,
Come on the show.
yeah, please come on the show. We'd love to
Okay,
have
guys. Final segment. Am I the a-hole? These are submissions that I found on Reddit I put together for us to judge, is this person the a-hole in this situation? So I'll read these for you guys. We'll have the prompt and then the actual information.
Okay.
Am I the a-hole for uninviting my mother-in-law from our wedding after I found out she painted her hair pink in an effort to upstage my wife? I, male 31, and fiance female 30, are getting married next weekend. Since the wedding planning has started, mother-in-law has made the entire wedding about herself, going full bridezilla on the wedding party as if she's the one getting married. My fiance is kind and can sometimes be a pushover. She has let a lot of my mother-in-law's behavior slide. Recently, mother-in-law texted my fiance the dress she planned to wear at the wedding, and it was this off-white silky dress. My fiance went ballistic on her and told her that this is unacceptable, among other things. The mother-in-law went into a tantrum and eventually relented. Yesterday, she came over to babysit for us, and to our horror, she was painted this terrible. Her hair was painted this terrible bright pink color. At this point, I knew why she did this and told her boldly that I am uninviting her from our wedding and expect security to stop her if she tries to show up. Fiance supported me on this. Since then, countless family members have hounded us, calling us a-holes for sending the mother-in-law into a depression. Quote, am I the a-hole?
Send her to the ranch. Send her
And
to
you
the
guys,
ranch.
you guys can comment in the chat below, yes or no. Are they?
We'll make a
And
poll.
Maybe we'll make a poll. I don't know.
Nah, you're in the right.
You're in the right for not for saying she can't even come to the wedding anymore.
Well, if she's gonna ruin it.
Wait, she dyed her. It was hard for me to follow all that. She dyed her hair
So
pink
first
out
she's
of
like,
spite.
first she's like, I'm gonna wear a white dress to the wedding, and they're like, no, you're not wearing a white dress. So they got in that fight.
Yeah,
and
because
she's
the
like,
bride wears white only.
the bride is the only one
I
who
learned
wears
this stuff
white.
last year.
Yes, the bride is the only one who wears white. So then she dyed her hair bright pink to be like, I still want attention when I go to this wedding, and they uninvited her.
Okay.
So, is the man the a-hole for uninviting his fiance's mother from the wedding?
Not if the fiance agreed.
Okay, Taylor.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's your day. It's your wedding. Like if you're both in agreement that it's going to be worse with
Yeah.
this. I mean, it's an extreme measure, but
It
it
is an
sounds like
extreme
there's
measure.
an extreme reason to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I would give her a little bit of grace, but I don't think you're an a-hole if you decide not to allow her to come.
Send her
That's
to
where I'm
the-
at.
Send her to the ranch.
How are people polling on the sender to the ranch?
On
Send
the
it to
Will and
the
Amala
ranch.
channel,
Dr. Phil's
83% say no.
Okay.
All right.
83% say no. Okay.
Perfectly answered.
Next one
Good
here.
job, guys.
Am I the a-hole for getting a tattoo without telling my girlfriend? I'm 24 and have dated her since we were both 19. We lived together, never took a pact to do or not have tattoos or anything like that. I know she's more of an anti-tattoo person, I guess. I've always wanted one. I didn't think it was a big deal. She travels for business, and so since I work from home and could go get one during my free time, I went and got a tattoo. Didn't tell her and didn't think it was worth mentioning. She came home, and then obviously when I was shirtless getting ready for bed, she noticed and made it this huge thing about how it's permanent and all that jazz. She thinks that I'm the a-hole for A, not discussing it with her first, then B, not telling her. My position is it's not a big deal, and it's a non-controversial tattoo. Am I the a-hole?
Baby, you like my chest piece? I got this winged eagle across the chest.
Yeah,
And then barbed wire right here.
he
No-
says it's non-controversial, so I imagine it's like a small tattoo or like an arm tat or something like
Yeah.
that. If it's
I got
a man,
teardrop.
yeah,
No, but listen, I'm conflicted.
you're conflicted.
Because as a man, you can do what you want. But then again, if my girlfriend, Ava, I know you're watching, if you got a tattoo without telling me, I'd be really upset.
Really,
So
you'd be
it's-
upset.
Yeah, of course. And I think that she would be justified to be upset at me too.
Yeah.
Because that's like, that's your person that you're in love with. That's, you their body is a sacred thing to you. You don't want to desecrate it.
It depends on the parameters of your relationship.
It does.
Like if
It's-
you're like
they
Will
never
over
took a
here
pact.
and you're never going to tell your wife how much money you make, it's
Right,
none of her
exactly,
business,
exactly.
then maybe they
They
have
already
the type
know.
of relationship where you can just go get a tattoo and it's whatever. But
Right.
that would not fly in
That would not fly
the
in your
rules of
household.
engagement of our relationship. Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm the opposite on that. My boyfriend could go and get a tattoo and come back, and I'd be like, "That's cool."
Yeah, I don't think
You
it
like
would
it? That's
She
awesome.
wouldn't be mad at me, but it would be like just surprising that I wouldn't even like tell her. And it's just
Wouldn't
kinda like,
mention
why
it?
wouldn't you tell me that? It's weird.
Right.
But just because we are so.
But the only
open
reason that they
and talk
wouldn't
about
tell this person is because they knew that they wouldn't like it.
Or it's because they think it's insignificant. Like I don't think tattoos are a significant thing, whereas you two might think tattoos are a pretty significant thing to go and do without telling
sure.
anybody. I wouldn't think that's significant at all.
I do.
So
Yeah.
my vote is not. He's not the a-hole in this situation, but that's just because I don't think it's a super significant thing to do.
Chat says 56% say no, you're not the a-hole for doing
So this is
without telling her.
All I
Okay.
know is I'm not getting any
It's a split.
tattoos
Without telling your girlfriend.
or anyone really.
Okay. I'm telling everybody if I
Everybody's
decide to get
gonna
a
know.
tattoo.
Will got the Polo Ralph Lauren logo right here on his
Uh-huh.
chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
He told us.
So
PragerU.
I'm saying no. Will saying yes. Taylor saying yes.
No, I don't know. It depends. It depends.
Okay.
I'm conflicted.
Here's
like I
one.
said.
Am I the a-hole for being unhappy that my wife frequently sleeps in the same bed as another man? Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I'm 21 male. My wife is of 3 years, is 31 female. My wife has a best friend from college, let's call him James, who was always her roommate for a few years after graduating, who she is very close with and texts with / talks to frequently. James is gay, but single, and lives in a city about 3 hours drive away from us. So when my wife visits him, it's usually for a full weekend since it's a bit far for casual visits. James also sometimes comes to stay with us and sleeps in our guest room. I don't have a problem with him. What I didn't know about was that James lives in a studio apartment in the city, and casually this week, my wife mentioned that when she goes to stay with him, she sleeps in bed with him. As far as I know, James has only ever been interested in men, but I still think this is very inappropriate. She got upset when I told her this was inappropriate and that I didn't want my wife cuddling in bed with other men. And she said I was being, quote, jealous and, quote, homophobic. I don't think it's okay for her to do this, and I feel betrayed that she's been doing this for years without telling me. Am I the a-hole?
I can't believe my wife's boyfriend has been sleeping in the same bedroom.
Let's function on the assumption that he is in fact gay.
Don't worry, man, I'm gay.
Not that
Taking
he's
good care of
faking
your
it.
friend.
Not that he's faking it. Let's.
No.
I still think it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Of course.
No.
No,
I still think it's inappropriate.
never. This would never fly.
He is not the a-hole in this situation.
If I went and slept with a lesbian friend of mine,
Yeah.
that wouldn't fly
No.
either. No, of course not. No, never.
Yep.
Nope.
You are not the a-hole.
No.
And your wife needs to rethink this.
She needs to rethink her life.
Yeah. Especially to say it's homophobic is that's a big jump from reality to say that.
You know what we should do with her and James?
What?
Send him to the ranch.
Send
Send him to the ranch.
them both to the ranch. No, it's not okay. And I'm sure he is gay, but not okay.
It's not okay to be gay. Amala.
Somebody's going to cut that. I'm sure he is gay, but it's not okay.
No, I know you. Don't worry.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, this one was easy.
Yeah. easy.
Okay.
Clear cut.
Okay, clear cut. Let me give you one that's maybe not as clear cut. Okay. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom to replace me because I don't want to be around her anymore? My dad came over on Valentine's Day to bring me flowers. Then he talked to my half-sister, she's a toddler, and my mom and stepdad. He gave my half-sister some of the flowers that he got for me. I told him that it made me sad because he is my dad, not hers, and he said he was sorry if I felt less important. My mom then yelled at me and was like, blended family, co-parenting, she's your sister, etc. I then told her and my stepdad that it isn't fair that I have to have 2 homes and live in a house with someone who isn't my parent. I told her that she gave my half-siblings more stability and love and that she has ever given me. I told her that I'm the victim of her choices. I said that my dad is my dad and she can't just give him to my half-sister who has all the love and stability she needs. I told her that I'm sick of her hurting me and trying to take everything away that makes me feel safe and happy. I told her that I feel embarrassed that she doesn't feel the slightest bit of guilt for what her romantic choices have done to me and that she could have just 1, not had me, or 2, given me away for adoption and instead decided to be selfish and make me suffer based on her actions. I told her that if she wants another daughter, she better make one with my stepdad and replace me because I want to live with my dad and stepmom and see her maybe once a month. Then she got sad and my dad told me to be nice and my stepdad had things to say too, but I told him that she isn't my parent and to mind his business. Edit, my mother cheated. Am I the a-hole? No, this is why you don't have kids with more than one person. I fully believe this is a hot take. Do not have kids with more than one person. And it shows that there's a problem there. And this is what you're going to create when you do something like that. I get it. Like you want another separate life. You might have messed up the first time or you chose the wrong man, but you chose the wrong man and you messed up the first time. And I don't think you should go and have kids with another person because it creates situations like this. And she shouldn't feel wrong for feeling this way because her mother created this situation. Out of selfishness, out of wanting something different and cheating and creating another whole family and another whole household. I don't think she's the a-hole in this situation.
I understand passions are high.
Yeah.
She sounds a little dramatic, gonna be honest. But I understand it's a tough situation.
It's an old saying, hurt people hurt people.
That is true.
And this is obviously a very hurt person who's bleeding and in her hurt causing more pain and being as hurtful as she can
Yep.
to her mom, sort of in retaliation. And
Yep.
is that an appropriate response, or is it a good response? No. But is her pain valid and real? Yes.
Yes.
And so can you blame her for being hurt? No. But is it the best way to deal with that hurt? No.
By the way, I think this girl is 14. Just put that out there.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
Two flies with one clap.
Yeah, I think it's completely understandable. Completely understandable that somebody who's 14, whose mom cheated, created a new family, and now she doesn't get to see her mom or her dad as often.
I mean, the whole thing is
Just
just like a huge, like Will said. I mean, it sounds, we could say
cluster.
dramatic, but it's a cry for attention, because how else are you going to deal with this as a 14-year-old girl who feels so hurt and neglected and, by this family situation?
We talk
So
about
you
the
can't-
importance of two-parent households.
Gotta just listen to some Death Cab for Cutie and Panic at the Disco
Yeah, that'll bring mommy and daddy back.
and just stay in your
Take
room.
them back Sunday.
It's not
That'll
a
bring
phase,
back-
Mom.
That'll
No,
bring
I
back the
understand.
mom and dad that
plan.
you had.
Right.
Okay, we have one more here, and
Okay.
then this will be the end of the show for today. Am I the a-hole for what I told my mother-in-law when she asked to be in the delivery room? My husband, male 33, and I, female 30, are expecting a baby boy. We're barely catching up with preparation and getting everything ready. His mom, kind of a busybody type, but can be helpful at times, invited us for dinner, and she said she has an important request to make. She brought her request up at dinner and blatantly said that she wanted to be in the delivery room with me when I give birth. I was taken aback by her request. I really thought it had something to do with the nursery or a diaper brand. I said I was sorry, but only my mom and my husband will be there. She made a face, got quiet for a while, and then brought it up again. Just kept pushing, saying she is as much of a grandmother as my mom is, and that she just wanted to be there for support and get the opportunity to see her grandbaby's first moments. My husband sided with her. I just stared at her and said, "It's all right. You can have the opportunity to be in the delivery room when it's your son who's giving birth." Everyone stopped eating and my mother-in-law left the table in an instant. My husband had got me up, although I wasn't finished with my dinner, but he said we should leave. In the car, he lost it on me, saying, "What brain cell made me think it was a good idea to tell my mom that?" I told him his mom kept pushing after I had already given her an answer. Still, he said this was the most effed up he'd ever heard me say. I replied that I was just frustrated and didn't mean to hurt her feelings and cause issues. He argued that if I don't want issues, then I should stop making things difficult and just say yes to his mom's request. Then he ranted about how it's his son too, and then said if his mom isn't allowed in there, then he won't be there too. Now, I don't know if he really meant this or just said this in the moment. Let's see. He's been ignoring me when I try to talk to him and act like I'm not in the room. I think I might have gone too far and created tension by responding inappropriately. Am I the a-hole?
Send her to the ranch.
This one's a difficult one. This one's got layers.
They're so long.
She doesn't want this woman in the delivery room.
Why not?
I don't know.
If she asked to be in there, why you just let her in?
It is the most vulnerable moment of your entire life. And this could be a woman she doesn't know all that well.
Right.
Yeah, but you do
So-
think
The grandmother of the baby coming
Right.
out of
you sacrifice things for your husband. I mean, if he wants her
I
in
think,
and
yeah,
this
I
is
think if your
okay, then
husband
it's
wants this, then definitely.
yeah, and you're excited. That's what they said. So just do it.
Just do
Stop
it.
being a
This is one of
baby.
those things that those like marriage prep courses don't prepare you for.
Yeah, right.
You're like, how do you deal with this one?
How is the audience responding?
Let's see. We got 62% saying no. You're
So
not
they're saying
being
she's
a-
justified.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is it's a pretty big thing to say somebody's going to be in the delivery room, but whoever my husband's mother would be, I would be allowed.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Am I allowed to have an opinion on this?
Yes. What do you mean? Of course you can.
I don't have a strong opinion. It's something you just kind of have to work out, I guess, as
Don't know all the
Reddit decided that she's not. Reddit decided that she's not. Our audience decided that she's not. It's very interesting.
I think it seems a little like dramatic, kind of like,
Yeah.
why? Why are you so opposed to this?
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
A lot of people
wants it. Everybody wants it.
I
Just-
personally just want only my husband in the delivery room. That's going to be my decision.
I've never thought about it.
I never thought about who I'm going to have in the delivery room.
you
Whatever
just
my
want your
wife
husband,
wants.
or you just want?
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
very happy together.
it's very nice. No, I just want my husband. You know?
When Will has the baby,
Yeah, when I have the
who do
baby,
you want in the room, Will?
When you have your baby, who do you
I
want?
want
Scott?
Dennis Prager,
Uh-huh.
I want Dennis Prager to
Dennis
deliver the
Prager's
baby.
for moral support. Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
If the baby heard that coming out,
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be the most stellar baby. Blow cigar smoke on the baby as he comes out.
Come through a smoke ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are kind of undecided on this one, I guess.
Right.
But
No, it's
it'll be interesting
sticky
to see.
situation.
Most people say not the a-hole,
Send him
but
to the ranch.
figure it out. Send them all to the ranch.
Send them all to the ranch.
You guys are asking Reddit to answer your life questions. You're all going to the ranch.
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't. You shouldn't be on Reddit asking these kinds of questions anyway.
You're all
know?
going to the ranch.
You're going to the ranch. Send them to the ranch.
But you also provide us with good content, so keep posting on Reddit.
Right.
So yeah,
At the ranch.
at the ranch.
Yeah.
The ranch has Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Ranch Wi-Fi.
But it's not great
America.
Wi-Fi.
It's not great Wi-Fi, but you can
It's like
post on
3G.
Reddit.
Yeah. It's 5G. It's gonna make your
Head
Makes you
Yeah.
infertile.
yeah. It's gonna make
you're
you
not gonna
infertile.
you're not gonna have to worry about whose mom is in the delivery room after the 5G.
Right. No. Funeral home.
Oh.
Okay, we take all of that back. We didn't mean to say anything.
No.
Yeah,
Department of
just
Homeland
kidding,
Security.
DHS.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
come arrest us
Right.
terrorists.
We're sending
Please.
Amala to the ranch. No.
Why? What did I do?
You're a terrorist.
You're a terrorist.
Oh, fair.
I'll go to the ranch.
I
I'd
totally
like to
get
see the ranch
Just to see it.
just to see it.
Don't make
No,
me
I-
stay.
Well, listen. I want a family and chickens and all that kind of stuff, and a ranch. I want my own ranch.
So you're
Can
gonna
you guys
go
tell
to
me about this whole ranch thing after the show? Because I don't get it.
I'll tell you guys
Oh,
all.
you don't get it?
So that you guys know the reference when we use it later on future episodes. Dr. Phil, whenever he sees unruly teenagers and people, he sends them to the ranch, which means they go to the ranch, this like boy ranch and girl ranch for a couple weeks, and they get disciplined. You
It's like
ever
a
heard of
scared
like the
straight
boys
thing?
ranch? Like
No,
dude
it's not scared
ranches.
straight.
and-
It's like a therapy thing. You go to the ranch and you come back a better person.
yeah,
I will scare you straight.
they got like horses and cows
Right.
and stuff, and you have to like do work and you know mow lawns and stuff.
Yeah, you learn character skills at the ranch.
Yeah. It's like boot camp, but with horses.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something you're not telling me about this place.
Oh, and Mike Pence comes and electrocutes you at the end. It's quite the
Oh,
experience.
No, but it's literally where Dr. Phil sends people he feel like he can't help on the show.
So, Will, how was
Send
your
them to the
experience
ranch.
at the ranch?
Oh, it was great. I mean, they turned so many things around for me.
Yeah.
To think of the man that I was before.
Right.
to
Dennis
man
the
I am
Menace.
Now. Exactly. No, the ranch saved my
now,
life.
Now you're with Dennis Prager.
And now I'm with Dennis Prager. You know.
Okay, guys, I think that's our show for today.
Thank you. I have to get back to the ranch.
Yes. Thank you
I've
guys.
passed my time.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single day when we go live. That is 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. We will be back tomorrow with an episode that is full of interviews for you. We interviewed Wilfred Riley, Glenn Beck, and our resident fact checker and historian, Richard. So he'll be on the show tomorrow as well. We will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching, and comment down below your answers to this Am I the A-hole submissions. Let us know what you think. Bye, guys.